Few things are more terrifying than being caught on a ship or boat when disaster strikes at sea. When the situation turns critical and water starts flooding in, it becomes a desperate race against time. Either help arrives fast or you need to scramble to a lifeboat before the whole thing goes under. Ship and boat accidents aren't just dangerous, they're often dramatic, intense, and honestly, jaw-dropping to witness. In this video, we're diving into some of the most mind-blowing and unforgettable maritime mishaps ever recorded. Let's start off the countdown with number 15, SS America. This ship had lived many lives. During World War II, she sailed under the name USS West Point, transporting troops across the Atlantic. After the war, she underwent major transformations and emerged as a striking luxury liner. Her elegant decks and polished interiors welcomed travelers for nearly 40 years. But by the 1980s, she'd aged out of that role. Instead of being scrapped, investors planned a new chapter, moving her to Phuket, Thailand for conversion into a floating hotel. She never arrived. While being towed across the Atlantic, this beauty encountered a super vicious storm near the Canary Islands. Waves battered her relentlessly until she broke free from her tug and drifted toward the shore of Fuerteventura. She struck the rocks and split in half, the bow carved open like a can. Recovery was impossible. What remained of the once beautiful ship slowly disintegrated over 2 decades, the ocean reclaiming her piece by piece. Her story ended not with fanfare but with a lonely, crumbling silhouette against the waves. Number 14. Gallant Lady. The wreck resting on North Bimini's shoreline looks ancient, but the Gallant Lady has only been there since just 1997. Once a modest freighter sailing under the Belize flag, she met her fate at the hands of Hurricane Mitch. The storm was unforgiving, tossing the vessel into the shallows. Why no one salvaged her after that is still debated. Some think the damage was too extensive, others believe her owners just walked away. Since then, she's remained a landmark, pounded relentlessly by tide after tide. Every high wave chips away at her structure, exposing more rust and rot. It's a slow collapse that turns metal into memory. Unlike the famous yachts or luxury liners, the Gallant Lady didn't carry glamour, just the scars of a working ship abandoned to the elements. She's become part of the local scenery, a rusted monument to the sea's power and a reminder that not every shipwreck makes headlines. Some just fade wave by wave, slowly. Number 13. MV Rena. The MV Rena was involved in what is still regarded as New Zealand's worst and most creepy maritime environmental disaster. In 2011, the Liberian-flagged container ship struck Astrolabe Reef at full speed while navigating off the coast of Tauranga. The incident wasn't caused by machinery failure or a sudden storm, it was a result of human error. The crew had made a manual course adjustment to save time, underestimating the drift caused by ocean currents. Worse yet, that plan placed the ship 5 degrees off its intended course. The impact tore the hull open, leaking more than 200 tons of fuel into the sea. Over the following weeks, the tide and waves cracked the vessel further until it split into 3 massive pieces. The oil slick killed over 2,000 seabirds, devastated marine ecosystems, and left long-term damage. Both the captain and the first mate were charged with negligence. What began as a shortcut turned into an environmental nightmare, and the MV Rena was declared a total loss. So, never take shortcuts. Number 12. Japanese submarine on Kiska Island. In 2015, a haunting relic from World War II was spotted on Kiska Island in Alaska. It was a Japanese A-type submarine left behind after Japan's occupation of the Aleutian Islands. And the rest you can Google. Measuring just 78 feet long, this vessel was cramped, designed for 2 brave soldiers who operated it in extreme isolation. It's believed to be the same submarine responsible for torpedoing the USS Abner Red in 1943. When Japanese forces were finally driven from the area, they abandoned some of their equipment, and this submarine never made it back. With its steel body now rusting into the volcanic terrain, it serves as a powerful reminder of wartime presence in a place many don't even realize was part of the conflict. While much about the submarine remains unclear, its discovery reignited interest in a theater of the war often overlooked. Unlike some underwater wrecks, this one didn't sink, it was simply left behind, and now stands as a frozen fragment of a brutal history that time couldn't quite erase. Number 11. Carnival Glory versus Carnival Legend. Well, you'd think cruise ships, massive, brightly colored, and crawling with tech, would be hard to miss. And yet, in December 2019, two of them collided in Cozumel, Mexico. Even worse, they both belong to the same company, Carnival. The Carnival Glory attempted to dock, but the Carnival Legend was already stationary at the pier. Instead of maneuvering carefully, the Glory veered too close and scraped right into its sister ship, causing visible damage and collapsing part of its rear deck. Fortunately, injuries were minor, and no one fell overboard. Still, the image of two floating hotels clashing in broad daylight was surreal. Passengers on board recorded the incident from their balconies, turning the moment into viral footage within hours. Despite the structural damage, both vessels were declared seaworthy after inspections, and guests were given an extra day in Cozumel while patchwork repairs were completed. For a cruise line named Carnival, the event felt more like a ship-based blooper than a festive parade. Number 10. RMS Queen Elizabeth. Now this is super famous. When the British unveiled the RMS Queen Elizabeth in 1938, she was the largest passenger liner ever built, over 1,000 feet long, sleek, and powerful. Just 2 years after her launch, the looming threat of war saw her rerouted to New York for protection, only to be recalled and transformed into a troop transport during World War II. She served until 1946 before returning to civilian life, crossing the Atlantic for nearly 2 decades. In 1968, U.S. investors bought her with dreams of turning her into a floating tourist attraction in Florida. But the ship was aging fast, and local authorities deemed her a fire hazard. She was eventually sold to a buyer in Hong Kong in 1970. Tragically, a fire broke out while she was docked there. Efforts to extinguish it using water cannons caused her to capsize. Beyond saving, the once majestic liner was reduced to scrap, her legacy ending not in glory but in smoldering defeat. Number 9. Seagrand Collision in Busan. In February 2019, the Russian cargo ship Seagrand plowed into the Gwangan Bridge near Busan, South Korea, a crash that looked more like a movie scene than real life. The steel bow ripped into the bridge structure, alarming nearby residents. Shockingly, the vessel didn't stop. It kept moving, as if nothing had happened. When the Coast Guard finally caught up and boarded, the reason for the chaos became clear. The captain was heavily intoxicated. Seagrand had only been docked in Korea for 2 days before setting sail toward Vladivostok, with over 3 million pounds of steel coils. Despite the collision tearing open part of its front hull, the cargo reportedly stayed intact. The bridge, however, suffered enough damage to warrant a temporary shutdown. The captain's identity was never made public, but there's little doubt he paid the price for his recklessness. The ship eventually limped home, but not before earning a spot in maritime mishap history for one of the most avoidable crashes in recent years. What do you think about it? Number 8. SS Mahino. Launched in 1905 for New Zealand's Union Company, the SS Maheno was a beauty in her prime, ferrying passengers across the Tasman Sea between New Zealand and Australia. She boasted elegant first-class features, like a grand piano in the music room, but when World War I erupted, she traded luxury for service, transformed into His Majesty's New Zealand Hospital Ship No. 1, caring for wounded soldiers at sea. After the war, she resumed passenger duty, but by 1935 was showing her age. Sold to a shipbreaker, Maheno was being towed to her final resting place when nature had other plans. A cyclone tore her tow line, sending her adrift. She washed ashore on Fraser Island and became permanently embedded in the sand. No amount of effort could dislodge her, so there she stayed, abandoned but not forgotten. To this day, her rusting skeleton sits on the beach, a silent witness to a journey that ended where no ship ever plans to dock. Number 8. MS Estonia. The sinking of the MS Estonia in 1994 stands as one of Europe's deadliest maritime tragedies. The ferry was crossing the Baltic Sea from Tallinn to Stockholm when it vanished beneath stormy waters, claiming 852 lives. The official explanation blamed the failure of the ship's bow visor, a massive hinged ramp used for loading cars which allegedly broke off, allowing seawater to flood the deck. But survivors tell a different story. Some crew members reported loud bangs near the cargo hold and said the flooding seemed to start from below, not the bow. Conspiracy theories quickly took root, especially rumors that the ship was secretly transporting sensitive military equipment. With so many lives lost and the truth still hazy, families continue to demand new investigations. Today, the wreck remains sealed under international agreement, and divers are no longer allowed near it. Whether it was mechanical failure, poor maintenance, or something more sinister, the Estonia became more than a shipwreck. It became a symbol of unanswered questions and shared grief. So what do you think about it? Well, let us know. Number 6. Octavius. The tale of the Octavius is one of the eeriest maritime legends ever told. This 18th century trading vessel reportedly vanished in 1761 while attempting a return voyage from China to London via the uncharted Northwest Passage. Nothing was heard from her for 14 years. Then, in 1775, the whaling ship Herald spotted a drifting hull off the coast of Greenland. Curious, a boarding party climbed aboard, and what they found chilled them to the bone. The crew was still there, all of them frozen solid. The captain was in his cabin, slumped over his desk with a pen in his hand and his logbook open. According to legend, the last entry in the log was dated the day they vanished. Frightened, the sailors took the book and left quickly. When another ship later returned to investigate, the Octavius had vanished again. Whether she ever truly existed remains debated, but the story endures as one of the most haunting nautical mysteries in maritime lore. Number 5. FV Pacesetter. The FV Pacesetter vanished off the coast of Alaska in January 1996, and it never returned. Originally built in 1976 as the Priscilla Ann, she changed names and owners until she came into the hands of crab fishers Matt Pope and Dale Lindsay. On January 27th, the vessel set out on a routine fishing trip but never made it back. A distress signal was picked up, and the Coast Guard launched a search. They found 2 life rafts and the emergency beacon, but no trace of the boat itself. Locals in Dutch Harbor recalled seeing the ship overloaded with crab pots. Captain Pope had reportedly stacked more than 20 extra pots on board. Witnesses said the boat looked unstable as it pulled away from the dock. The current belief? She sank under the weight of that load. To this day, the FV Pacesetter remains lost beneath Alaskan waters, her fate sealed by a misjudgment that cost both a crew and a vessel. Alright guys, now let's move to Number 4. SS Airfield. The SS Airfield no longer carries coal or cargo, it carries a forest. Moored in Homebush Bay, Australia, this century-old steamship has become something entirely unexpected, a floating island of greenery. Built in 1911, the airfield served as a transport vessel for coal, and even carried troops during World War II. After decades of service, she was retired in the 1970s and sent to Homebush Bay to be scrapped. But instead of being dismantled, she was left afloat, and that's where her transformation began. Over the years, native mangrove trees and other vegetation rooted themselves into her rusted hull. Today, her skeletal frame supports a dense patch of greenery, thriving on what was once a coal barge. Locals and tourists refer to her as the floating forest, and she's become a popular photo spot, part shipwreck, part eco-sculpture. While her seafaring days are long over, the SS Airfield stands as a beautiful reminder of how nature always finds a way to take back what humans leave behind. Number 3. Cherry Venture. The Cherry Venture wasn't built for show, it was built for cargo, but its final resting place turned out to be a tourist attraction. Launched in 1945 under the name Scania, the ship operated under several identities before settling into its final moniker. By the early 70s, it was hauling goods between Brisbane and Auckland. In July 1973, the ship entered a vicious storm off the coast of Queensland. Critically, it was sailing without cargo, a dangerous condition in rough seas. Light and unstable, the ship thrashed violently until a massive wave threw it onto Tiwa Beach. The entire crew survived, but the Cherry Venture was stuck. Peter Vigalis later bought the wreck, convinced he could refloat it. That plan sank too. Despite various salvage attempts, the rusting remains of the Cherry Venture sat on the beach for decades, slowly decaying until it was finally buried in 2007. Tourists still talk about it like a ghost that once washed ashore, but who knows? Number 2. Bos 400. Off the coast of Sandy Bay near Cape Town lies the rusted skeleton of the BOS 400, a huge French crane barge that met its fate in 1994. She was being towed during a fierce storm when the tow line snapped, sending the helpless vessel adrift. Strong waves slammed her into the rocks. Despite efforts to recover her, the barge was too damaged and the location too remote for any successful salvage. Rather than risk more lives or resources, officials declared her a write-off. Since then, she's stayed lodged on the rocks, slowly corroding under sun and surf. Locals treat the wreck as a hidden gem. Adventurous swimmers sometimes climb aboard, but the structure is unstable, rusted through, and dangerously sharp in places. Most choose to view it safely from nearby boulders. The BOS 400 never fulfilled its industrial mission, but it found a strange second life as a haunting monument to miscalculation and the raw, untamable power of the sea. Number 9. MS Riverdance. On January 31, 2008, the MS Riverdance found herself in the wrong place at the wrong time, off the coast near Blackpool, England. This German-built roll-on/roll-off ferry was designed for short-haul freight routes and operated under sea truck ferries. That day, a violent storm struck as she was en route between Heysham and Warren Point. A wave smashed her broadside, shifting her cargo and throwing her violently off balance. A distress call brought emergency crews, but it was too late. The ship had grounded. She hit the sands at an angle so steep that cargo spilled across the beach. Locals rushed in, salvaging what they could. Though the crew escaped safely, the Riverdance was beyond saving. She drew crowds like a stranded whale, briefly rivaling Blackpool Tower as a sightseeing spot. After several failed salvage efforts, authorities dismantled the ship where she lay in October 2008. Her brief fame faded, but for months, she was the shipwreck that stole the spotlight. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in with us, and we'll see you soon in the next one.